Welcome to Femme Furious, a podcast where pop culture meets a feminine framing. I am your host, Julia Rose Portela, and today we are headed to Barcelona and to Tuscany and maybe even to Linfield, Ohio. Dealer's choice while we dive into the people we meet on vacation. But before we dive into today's episode, let me tell you how you can support and follow the podcast. You can subscribe anywhere that you get your podcast, rate and leave a review anywhere that you get your podcast. You can watch full video breakdowns on YouTube. You can get a full video breakdown and a transcript on Substack and on Patreon. If you want more of a community vibe, go to Patreon. If you want more essays and deep dives that don't make it into the podcast, but more of my thoughts about movies and whatnot in general, head over to the Substack. You can also follow me, by the way, for my bookish baddies. You can go and follow me over on Storygraph and see what I'm reading. That's the platform that I use to track my books. If you are a screen queen, you can go over to Letterboxd. I just started one for the podcast, and I've been writing everything as a formal review over there. We're 5 movies deep, okay, into this year. I just watched The Materialist, which I wrote about on Substack. So I did a long form essay over there on The Materialist, but watched that. Just watched Superman, the 2025 version, which I really loved. Obviously, the people that we meet on vacation. Jurassic Park, the rebirth with Scarlett Johansson. I just finished that. And Stranger Things I have on there. Anyway, I've only got 5. It's not that I've only ever seen 5 movies, obviously. It's just that I just started the Letterboxd and I wanted to use it as a platform to really connect with reviews and things like that. So you can also follow me over on there. You can follow me on Instagram or on TikTok. That's Femme and Furious Pod. You can send me an email. We have a mailbag coming up at the end of the month. So send all of your thoughts about Stranger Things, heated rivalry, pop culture news, anything in general. Let it come out. Let me know in an email, femmeandfuriouspod@gmail.com. And of course, you can join my monthly newsletter, Lipstick and Lore. Okay, let's take a chic peek at the people we meet on vacation. This is your spoiler warning. We are talking about everything from the movie, everything from the book. So, the movie, hello, titled People We Meet on Vacation. It is directed by Brett Haley. It is based on the novel by Emily Henry, titled the same. Vibe check. Someone get me a pina colada with a little umbrella, little neon pink umbrella. The vibes are sunny and warm, despite the fact that this is a midwinter rom-com. The feral factor is a 6 out of 10. Who it's for? Obviously, for my bookish baddies. It is also for anyone who loves a friends to lovers storyline or anyone who loves will they, won't they tension. Here's my hot girl hot take. This isn't a bad adaptation. It gets many things right, which is very hard for an adaptation, and I am always going to be critical of an adaptation. The casting, great. The too hot hotel room, chef's kiss. The saxophone slander, I was there for it. The New Orleans dance scene, 12 out of 10. When this movie commits, it fully commits. But as a reader who loved the book, and as a reader whose favorite Emily Henry book boyfriend is, in fact, Alex Nilsson, I missed the friendship in this book. Well, the friendship is in the book. The friendship is missing from the movie. I really missed the friendship most of all. Without it, the story loses a little bit of its weight. Now it's there because I've got it in my little Vecna mind palace, okay? But it was, I think, missing on screen. So let's have a quickie. This is just a quick little episode. If you've never been here for a quickie before, there's no femme frame. We're not diving into anything too deep. We're just going through the bullet points for this episode. So let's talk about what the movie absolutely smashes out of the park. First and foremost, it's got the right vibe. The movie is one long Instagram slideshow. It's got a lot of color. It's very saturated. It's very warm. It's got that aspirational travel fantasy. It's like opening up a Condé Nast, right? And reading, the travel section. So there is something aesthetically that really does work. about this movie that I think is really honoring the vibes of the book, especially the end of the movie has like the cover photo on there. So, it has the two of them on their little lawn chairs in this obviously like beautiful setting, etc., etc. So I think it's got that like Emily Henry brand to it, or it's got like the book brand to it that the movie does really well as far as the aesthetics go. It's also got a lot of detail fidelity, even though it takes a lot of liberties, as most adaptations do. Some of the stuff that I think, just as like a rapid fire fan service roll call right now to the people that have read the book. We see Poppy pick up her phone and it's got Alexander the Great on there. It's got Tiny Fighter, even though Alex doesn't have his cat. But anyway, we've got him acknowledging Poppy as a tiny fighter. We get the Porny Poppy story. We get It Speaks to Me when they're talking about the art. We have the idea of Vacation Alex. We get her mom get lambskin condoms, which I thought was really funny. We've got Poppy twisting her ankle and Alex is like, I'm going to carry you. You can't call me Seabiscuit and you can't say faster, faster in my ear, which is a direct quote from the book. So that was really good. And I really enjoyed that there was a lot of detail fidelity to the books, because those little things do matter and they are there for people who have read the book. And so that felt important to me. They are important details to the reader without being so overt. So if you get the Easter egg, fine. If you're brand new and you just pop it on Netflix and you see Tom Blythe and you're like, absolutely, yes, I will, you're not going to be excluded from the narrative of the movie, which I understand is a really delicate balance that you have when you are adapting something, especially when you're adapting something as loved as Emily Henry books are. So I really appreciated that, and I thought that it was really well done, the details that they did add in. There are some problems with this as well. Adaptations in general have to strike a delicate balance between not ostracizing the core group of readers who will be coming to the property because they love the property, and also not ostracizing people who have not read the books. And I commend people who go into these screenplays and make these adaptations. And I think that the vibes were there. And I think that you could watch this and have like a perfectly fine, rom-com experience. And it will hit all of the tropes and it's going to have all of the things. But I think that there is some missing tension for the book readers. And this was really disappointing to me. So the romantic tension of the book, right, is the slow burn, is the many, many years of accumulated moments and memories and inside jokes that become the foundation to the thing that Poppy is able to say at the end. So, when Poppy and Alex meet up again many years into the future, she keeps reminiscing about all of these little moments that were so important from all of these trips to her. And Alex seemingly is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And just like how gutting that is for her, because all of these little moments that she's so cherished, she thinks that he doesn't. And then, of course, we get like the reveal, like, of course, Poppy, I remember everything. So that's a part of the tension of the books is the duration of time that these two people have been friends. And the fact that their intimacy is driven not by sexual or romantic connection, but by friendship. And I think that it misses the friendships. It's missing the moments where the intimacy is built in between. And so you're missing moments like Poppy and Alex with each other's family more often. You're missing them home in between school breaks in Linfield and how their relationship develops there. You're missing, their long-winded phone calls where they don't want to hang up with each other. And so Poppy starts peeing on the phone because she doesn't want to hang up with Alex for, 10 seconds. And what that really means. You're missing some of them in school too. She drops out of school very early in the movie, and you're missing some of their like togetherness at school where they just sort of organically formed a unit there. So it's missing some of that I think is important to the foundation of understanding, not just because we're being told that they're best friends, but I'm a big fan of like show don't tell. And so the movie says we were best friends, or you get it a little bit in the fact that like David is the one that is calling Poppy and being like, are you coming to my wedding? But you're missing the moments of the family even together for you to understand why they would even have that type of relationship. Especially because in the movie, Poppy doesn't meet Sarah until like way many years after. So you're thinking that this is like a separate version of Alex in his life, which is maybe the case, but you're missing some of the pieces that are telling you like how deep and profound and intimate their friendship really was, and all of these moments where, over the course of the book, Poppy always talks about the 5% that I'm in love with Alex Nilsson, that I have to like keep stuffing down and keep shoving away because I don't want to ruin the friendship and what that means for this like inner yearning that she has. There is a quote in the book where Poppy says, when I look back up at him, he's beaming at me and I think, I love you now more than I ever have. How is it possible that this keeps happening with him? Obviously, her internal dialogue. And then she asks Alex, can we take a picture together? But what I'm thinking is, I wish I could bottle this moment and wear it as perfume. It would be with me always, everywhere I went, he'd be there too. So I'd always feel like myself. And this idea that, of what these two people mean to each other and what they have always meant to each other, the foundation to their relationship, which is Poppy saying to Alex, I never really felt alone since I've met you. I don't think I'll ever truly feel alone again in the world as long as you're in it. And Alex responding to that, I don't think I knew I was lonely until I met you. And so, how fulfilling this relationship has been to these two people and what it has provided for them. For Alex, who in the books is so responsible because his mom dies and he's got brothers, not just one that we see, in the movie, but I think four in the book. So he's three other brothers. And then his father, and the responsibility that he feels to like take care of his family and be the responsible one. And they all get to go have fun. I don't get to have fun. I have to be this person. And how Poppy, spends so much of her life feeling like she's too much. And this idea of too muchness is inserted into the movie. But I would also say that it's done in a way where it makes Poppy unlikable. And so instead of it just being like the shocking clothes and stuff like that, in the beginning, it is done in a way that it makes her seem rude, or at least to me. And I am a girl that is like, I am way too much for a lot of people. Okay. So this is not like coming from a place of like, I actually think that Poppy is too much. I think the way that it was written into the movie makes her seem rude. She's waving the burrito in his face. She doesn't know him. He's driving her home. She's like, disregarding his boundaries in a way that Poppy does in the books because she's awkward, not because she's being disrespectful. Um, so, like more of a teasing, oh, of course you wouldn't want people to eat in your car. And like showing the stiffness or tension between them without showing her as being somebody who's like really crossing a lot of lines with him. So I don't know. I didn't like love that like first introduction to their relationship either, especially because the car scene is so important and they're trying to find something that they agree on, you know. And so we get a little bit of that. Like, I hate running. I love running. I hate the saxophone. Of course you would. Like, what's wrong with the saxophone? But what they don't have in that moment is the thing that they actually agree on, which is I hate when people call boats she. Yeah, we hate the feminization of boats. And so where they start to find common ground and how silly that is and, what it leads to. So I think they do a lot of things right, but I think a lot of the intimacy that is forged between Alex and Poppy is forged between their opposites attract. Um, you know, friendship that turns, it's sort of like unlikely animal friends that like turn into lovers. And I just think that by foregoing some of the depth of that, not just seeing like 4 summers ago, 6 summers ago, 10 summers ago. So we're getting like timeline without getting the weight of the time that has passed within the scope of their relationship and how it is developed in between these vacations. And to me, it feels like it's lacking any of the emotional shorthand that signals history with people. I think this would have fared better if it was a TV show, and it's really hard to watch this in comparison to a heated rivalry where that also has a lot of time jumps, also has a long term relationship with much nuance to it and much depth to the course of how the relationship develops over years. And I just feel like because it's 12 years that Alex and Poppy are friends. So by the time they hook up. So, I feel like this could have been 10 episodes and every episode was a trip. Sort of a flashback to the trip and a flash forward to where we are now and getting some of the depth and the emotional context. I know there's only so much that you can do in 2 hours, but if you had 10 hours and a TV show, it'd be a little bit different. So I don't know if that's going to be true for every Emily Henry book, but I think that for this one in particular, it would have fared really well as a series versus just a movie, because there's a radically different emotional payoff in how I feel about how Shane and Ilya's relationship has developed, because we get so much time with them together, even though we're getting the same amount of time with them on screen. If it would have, I think having it as a TV series would have given this particular story, People We Meet on Vacation, some wiggle room to explore the slow burn, to explore the emotional intimacy, to explore their friendship, and to really be able to see how these two people have made each other's lives better and why their love story matters. Let's sort of look at like Alex and Sarah for a second as well, because I thought this was also an interesting choice. So, like in the book, Alex's dilemma is security versus liberation. You know, who he feels obligated to be because of his past and his trauma versus who Poppy gives him the permission slip to be and why he loves her because of that. So it's this idea of like stability as survival instinct. And the film then changes the relationship with Sarah. First of all, it introduces her much faster. It's not that she's somebody that he met at college when he already had a pre-existing relationship with Poppy, which to me is weird because somebody who has a deep friendship with somebody before they meet a partner is going to weave that friendship into their lives. Somebody who has a partner that they were high school sweethearts is probably not going to develop a too deep emotional connection to another woman as a friend. Doesn't even matter if it's platonic or not. I know that the movie does what the book does, which is a very on again, off again experience of relationships with Sarah and Alex. But I think it really simplifies their relationship and doesn't really show what she's providing for him, which is that emotional security. And that, you know, Alex feels conflicted about this. In the book, the more serious his relationship gets with Sarah, the more changed his relationship becomes with Poppy. And this is something that she acknowledges because she'll be like, he won't call me anymore unless it's in the morning when he's going to the gym. So Sarah doesn't know about it, or he's out for a run in the morning. And there's multiple times where she's like, I want to talk to this person, but like, he's not my person to talk to about this thing anymore. Like now he's like Sarah's person. So there is like complication with Sarah, and it's not so simplified that we're just friends. Alex certainly emotionally cheats on Sarah, but pretty much anytime that he's with Poppy, even though, nothing about their relationship gets physical until after he's broken up with her. But this like change of the relationship and what happens in Tuscany and this like near cheating and then the proposal choice here felt a little odd to me. It sort of weakens Sarah as a character, and it makes the proposal a plot device of like antagonizing Poppy for not wanting or even knowing how to want the same things that Alex wants in the movies. And so it sort of darkens Alex's moral complexity. It simplifies Sarah's, right? Because we don't really know what Alex's relationship with Sarah really is in the book. We just know through the context of like how it's being told from Poppy's perspective. I will say, with that being said, the fact that Sarah becomes a flight attendant and is like breaking up with Alex was great because I now get to go like live my best life, and I didn't even know what I was like missing out on until I went through this breakup. Simplifies a problem that was complex, because when Poppy and Sarah run into each other in the books, Poppy's like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry that I didn't know what I wanted, and that because I didn't know what I wanted, you know, you were basically this like collateral damage. I don't know. I felt like everything with Sarah was a little flat. And it would be weird to have the movie without Sarah for book readers, but it's almost weird to have her here in this context to create this like emotional tension, when the emotional tension of the movie could have just been the dilemma between Poppy not knowing what she wants, if that's what they were going to do, because that's really how they land it. And that's not the only thing that prevents Alex and Poppy from being together in the books. The other thing that I thought was a little bit odd was we get some of the people they meet on vacation. We have Buck, we've got the newlywed couples, but like never how those people come back around to influence their current day. There's the whole point of the people we meet on the vacations is that like all of these people that they've met over these years as they're falling in love end up coming into play in the present or like later on, you know, in the story. So it'll be like, oh, I forgot we're going to this place, and like Buck gave me the contact for so and so's person. Like there was just like some of that missing. Like there was enough of like, hey, there's people that we're meeting on vacation, but not like enough of like there's people that we're meeting on vacation and why they're important to the purpose of the story. There are some standout moments to me, especially visually, because the show was, because the movie was filmed so saturated and in like all of those travel colors. There is one moment where Trevor, maybe that's his name, where Trevor, anyway, Emily in Paris, Lucien, whoever that guy is, whatever his name is in the movie, I forget what his name is in the book too. Anyway, he works with her in R&R. He's supposed to be a photographer, or at least that's what he is in the. So anyway, there's the shot of them, Poppy and Trevor, on the balcony overlooking Sarah and Alex, who have just gotten engaged, and Sarah walks inside, Trey walks inside, Trey, T, let's just call him T, walks inside, right? And it's just a shot of Alex looking at Poppy, and, it's sort of like zooms in on Poppy, and as it's zooming in on her face, she obviously is like, oh my God, it's so exciting. But as it like really zooms in on her face, the color desaturates, the frame darkens. I thought it was a really beautiful shot, and I thought it like gives you some context into her inner world, despite the facade, in a way that makes it very visually clear to people that she is not excited about this engagement at all, especially in the wake of this like incredibly intimate moment that they've had the night before. And I don't have the exact quote from the book, but when Poppy thinks that she's pregnant, Alex is like, we'll take care of it together. Like, whatever you want to do, you can come live with me in Linfield. Like, we'll figure this out. And I think that's such an important part of the book, number one, because in the book, it scares Alex so much that he goes and gets a vasectomy. And, admits to Poppy later on, like, I did that for you. Like, in my mind, I did that for you. Poppy, I think, on the other hand, realizes how emotionally entangled that she is and dependent that she is with Alex, and how much she loves him for that. and you know, maybe what she's holding him back from because of it. So, you know, we get that conversation the night before where they almost kiss, then we have the engagement, then we have this shot where like the color kind of desaturates, and then we get this conversation between the two of them after where he says to her like, this is going to be our last vacation together, and then ghosts her for 2 years, and how completely painful this is for her versus the way that it happens in the book, which is they have this trip in Tuscany, and then they go on another trip. I believe it's to Costa Rica. In Costa Rica, they hook up, and Alex is like, I've been waiting for forever for this, and basically, you know, wants to understand a little bit more about like what their relationship is going to be. And the tension of that is like, she doesn't know. And so after they go home from that trip, you know, Alex is kind of waiting for her to call, and she's kind of waiting for Alex to call. And then it sort of snowballs into this thing where like no one calls each other. That's like really simplifying it anyway. You know, we talk about this on the book podcast, if you want to go listen to the book one. But all in all, I will say that I can acknowledge that this movie was just fair for me as a book reader, as most adaptations are. And I would like to say that without apology because the book is better. Do I think it's a great visual? Do I think it's a lot of fun? Had a great time with it. Really loved it. Would I like watch this over and over again? Probably not. But is it good for what it is? Totally. All right. So let's crack open our burn book while we will look at the superlatives for this movie. The Bold and Bothered Award. This is strictly for the Femme and the Furious. It is the quote or the moment that relays the most feminine rage, and it goes to Sarah, who has a very short but very loud pause when they are in Tuscany, and Alex is like, she's freaking out right now. Like, should I go see her? And Sarah just looks at him and she's like, yeah, you should go see your friend. I'm just going to go to bed. The pause is the Bold and Bothered Award. Then there is the Shiro Award. This award goes to the baddie who is the most inspiring or the moment that is the most empowering, and it goes to Poppy dropping out of school to pursue her dream of travel writing. Femme Furious Award, you know, for the most smash the patriarchy moment of the episode. This is just the moment of absolute overstimulation that every girl like Poppy, raising my hand for myself here, when she gets overstimulated and she's like, I just need air, and she like cuts through the plastic sheet because she just needs to go stand outside. I thought that was great. And I thought it was such a good part of the adaptation of the book. Speak Your Truth trophy for the best line or quote. And I love when Alex says to her in New Orleans, how about we die alone together? Honorary heartthrob, because I'm just a girl, okay, and I want to talk about the most swoon-worthy moments. And of course, this goes to the New Orleans dance scene, obviously, because that was great. And Tom Blythe, you know, gyrating his hips is just perfection. And it was the first time that I felt like these two had chemistry. And I really couldn't believe that these two people wanted to have sex. So it was great. It was a good adaptation for what it is. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of Femme Furious. We'll be back on Tuesday talking about Stranger Things episode 7, The Bridge. And until then, go meet some fun people on vacation.